A friend of mine came to me with some grave tidings in concern to balancing Stasis that is honestly, in all cases, a nerf. So, unfortunately, because of that, I wanted to come to this TWID. I'll cover the rest of the ability changes because I looked at some. There's a lot more nerfs in along the line. A lot of the ones that may have already been mentioned, but I haven't exactly kept track. I will skip to that section. I just wanted to show right here the themes. In case you wanted to keep track of anything else in this TWID, I'm going to be skipping over it. However, there is a live stream recaps of Armor 3.0. That's a lot of the stuff we've already heard. Changes to the Season Pass, as well as a save the date that I'm assuming is going to be the next dev stream. I'm going to be skipping ahead to the ability patch, though. So right here, they mentioned that last week's TWID was the big Melee rework announcement, and a bit before that, they announced the Prismatic changes that had the community in a riot because a lot of the good Prismatic aspects were being reduced from 3 fragments to 1, and before too long were immediately backpedaled to a change of 2 fragments. I have a feeling that there might be similar outcry going forward, as right off the bat, Prismatic, Hellion, nerfed from 3 to 2 fragments. Bleak Watcher, nerfed from 3 to 2 fragments. The Weaver's Call, a slight bit of a benefit on Prismatic and Strand for hunters, can now generate threadlings on any type of final blow instead of just Strand. Easier threadling generation specifically for... Actually, no, Weaver's Call, that's Warlock, my bad. But then Void, Pocket Singularity for Warlocks. Actually, this is Warlock in total. Increased Pocket Singularity damage versus non-bosses by 20% and against bosses by 56%. I feel like they will be infinitely buffing Pocket Singularity because just it seems like no one uses it. For Titans, Prismatic Consecration reduced from 3 to 2. That is one that was talked about. Consecration, increased fragment slots provided on Solar to 3. Why make it different? Then Drenger's Lash, increased tracking strength of base suspend wave and Abiant Leap exotic suspend wave. Basically, Abiant Leap exotics better. Then, base suspend wave travel increased from 20 to 30 meters. Abiant Leap suspend wave distance from 30 to 35. Yeah, not gonna lie, Drenger's Lash aspect was sucking hard in the recent memories. And then specifically to Prismatic and Solar, Consecration nerf. Ignition no longer has plus 20 bonus damage. Yeah, they're nerfing the damage as well as its accessibility or usefulness on Prismatic. Void Shield Throw, the projectile strength tracking strength increased by 77%. Okay. Storm's Keep for Titans. Benefits no longer stack when standing behind multiple barricades. People found this fun, and that's just killing the fun. Hunter, Gambler's Dodge. These infinite changes that has a lot of the community not happy. Melee energy no longer requires dodging near an enemy. It is now on a flat rate based on your, I think it was mobility stat or whatever it is coming forward. And then Prismatic. Reduce the number of fragment slots provided by the following aspects. Ascension and Winter's Shroud, both down to 2. Gunpowder Gamble. This is arguably a good one. Reduce self-damage from Gunpowder Gamble detonation by 66%. Final blows of all kinds now grant Gunpowder Gamble instead of just solar kills. Specifically for Prismatic, that makes sense. On normal solar, not so much. Solar, on your mark aspect. Final blows while at 3 stacks of on your mark will now make you radiant for a short time. Activating your class ability now grants 1 stack of on your mark instead of 3. Note, we think Gunslinger needs more access to Radiant. Didn't they already have one of the easiest ones with the Radiant dodge and melee attacks giving you Radiant and almost having constantly melee attacks? Might just be losing it. Arc Ascension. Arc Ascension can now activate the following perks. Armor mods such as Reaper, Powerful Attraction, Outreach, Distribution, Bomber, Dynamo, and for exotics... Wait, Ascension? Isn't that Heart? Okay. The class item Heart of Inmost Light and Gerfalcon's Reserve Overshield. So Ascension, I remember, is a class ability activation, so it makes sense that these class ability-based perks are triggered by them. For all classes, Arc... Let's see, increased damage by 15%, Flux, Arc Bolt, Flashbang, Storm Grenades, Void, Axion, and Suppressor Grenades, Solar, Firebolt, and Trip Mine Grenades, Kinetic, The Rock from Forerunner. Basically, most of these are all the things that no one uses in Proximate. I know I mess around with Flashbangs, I mess around with Storm Grenades, but most of the time, any other grenade listed on this list, most of the times they aren't used. Most of the time. I know Suppressor, obviously, it's very handy. Firebolt is a light bit of Scorch. So that's at home in PvP, but not anywhere else. And I know the Forerunner grenade is technically the most powerful grenade in the game, but at the same time, who uses Forerunner in PvE dedicatingly, or actually thinks that this is something I need Forerunner for? Then ability energy returns from perks and passive regen now scales based on the requisite stat. Dev notes cover this topic in recent TWID. Devour, now reduced Devour heal amount from 200 to 140, a Devour nerf. Suspend, increases base suspend duration from 5 seconds to 6 seconds. And the big one that I am here for, Stasis Shatter, now stuns Overload champions instead of Unstoppable champions. So technically, Stasis can only deal with one champion, because it was the Shatter that dealt with unstoppable damage, aka freezing and then breaking them. Then Slow, which was the only other stat that Stasis can, debuff enemies with, that was what stunned Overload champions. But now, it is only Overload champions, and the reason why. Moving forward, we want to make it clearer how and when weapons can grant anti-champion abilities. I thought that was obvious. From sources like the Artifact or Radiant, because stacking Stasis Slow organically leads to a Stasis Shatter, it limited how often we could give Slow to certain weapons without having auto-solving champion encounters. Overload champions are also harder to deal with than Unstoppable champions in general. This just seems like a pointless change, outright. Because Overload champions, there was plenty of things that could deal with Overload champions, and there's plenty of things that could already deal with Unstoppable champions. The issue is every artifact weapon plus every exotic that has intrinsic anti-champ abilities, they're in the field. If you legitimately needed the extra leg up to deal with those champions, you just needed to bring an exotic, and granted, it will take care of it. But now, Stasis can only deal with one type of champion. Already, the only reason I saw Stasis in the field was because of its slowing capabilities. It was a plus that it got to deal with Unstoppable champions. Right now, this is not a good move for keeping Stasis relevant in the end. Because, yeah, it can deal with Overload champions plenty well, but Unstoppable champions, that was a weaker part of the Stasis kit, in my opinion, because you needed to shatter it. Sure, you could freeze something eventually, but you still need to do something else. Slowing, that's just literally applying a little bit of slow. Most people, I would think, used it for the slow and the Overload before the Unstoppable, because it was extra effort. If they actually wanted Unstoppable, they would bring Ignition, they'd bring Blind, Suspend, Devil's Ruin, Bastion, any of the other things that can grant inherent Unstoppable. Polaris Lance, odd things. I think most people were thinking Polaris Lance for Ignitions before thinking of Stasis for Unstoppable. So, I don't know, it just feels like a useless nerf. Then with the Flux Grenade, significantly reduced base cooldown time, increased projectile size to make it a bit easier to stick to targets, another buff for a grenade I don't think really anyone uses. With that is all of the adjustments they have shared with abilities going, like there's the things about Bungie Day, the Season Pass changes, Summer Sale, known issues, and everything else. That is not the topic of this video. All of these changes, they don't feel like they are because they want to. It feels like it's because of a change they made elsewhere that now they have to do this by default, not that it was actually deserved. From that point, I know there's plenty of people that said, didn't Bungie say they were gonna stop nerfing things? But my issue is also, in addition to my thought that this is results of other changes, this isn't something they would do, is the fact that a lot of these are going in conjuncture with the changing Armor 3.0 and stat redistributions. Most of this stuff has been unchanged for years, until now. Why? Because they're doing Armor 3.0. Now they're forced to change it because for some reason, things just can't stay the way they are, even when they were already in a great state. So, with that is the end of this little talk, because man, it's just annoying seeing how many things change because Bungie says they need to, when they don't even really need to be changed. With that, my name is the Mad Scorpion. I will see you in the next video.